Hello everybody, Demon Redmist here, doing a how-to video on GT Sport on how to get your cars ready for DGT League races, and also how to sort out a few settings. Now, apologies for the dodgy camera work. I'm doing this because I actually want to show something to do with the audio settings first, where we're going to need to press the XMB button or PS button, which is why I need the phone to record this. Now, just to let you know, if you're using a wheel, you can still have a controller turned on at the same time. So my wheel is turned on, well, you can see it, and my controller is turned on. Now, on the controller, there's a button between the two joysticks, which has got PS on it. So that's the PS button, or as many call it, the XMB button. There is also the similar button on most steering wheels. It'll either be a PS symbol on it, or if you're on a different wheel, it might be a push-in button. Okay, so on the XMB menu, one of the things that I want to show is audio settings. So there are a couple of different ways to do that. So press your XMB button, go up, go over to settings, click on that, and I'm going to scroll down to devices. Click on devices, and then we've got audio devices, so we'll click on that. And once we've clicked on that, it then gives us the choices of your input device and your output device. So, for example, if somebody has got their audio coming out of their television, but they are using a headset and using the microphone is going to pick up all of the television noise. Okay, so what you can do here is you can choose your input device, which is your microphone, and you can select which one you want to use, and you can actually have a couple plugged in, and then on the output device you can click on that, and then you can choose to have it set on the USB headset, as mine is. Yours might be a Bluetooth or a hardwired headset, or it might say headset connected to controller if you've got a headset that is plugged into your controller. Okay, or you can have it selected to TV or AV amplifier. So if you have your audio coming out of your TV, but you're wearing a headset and you want it to come out of your headset, this is where you change it to your headset. Okay, and you would click on that and confirm it. You can then adjust the microphone level. You will hear yourself. You do not want to be too loud on this. And you can also change your volume control for your headphones there, and also whether you want the output to headphones to be all audio, or for example just chat audio. So you want to make sure that it's on all audio. So there you go. Now you can have it to switch device automatically. What that'll do is, if you sometimes play with a headset on but sometimes play with no headset because you're on your own, if you have this set to automatic, then if you don't turn your headset on, then your audio should come out of your television. Okay, so that's that setting sorted for you. Now for getting into chat parties. Okay, I'm going to do this again from the game screen. There's two ways to get into the chat party. Press your XMB button again, or your PS button, and it will bring up the main menu. Push up again and go to the headset symbol. If you press on that, then any chat parties that you have been invited to previously or currently will be available in there. So for example, if I click on that, it will say that there currently are no parties that I can join, but the parties that I've previously been in, I can actually join and start them. Okay, and that'll then give a notification to everybody else that is in that chat party or has availability to that chat party. They'll get a notification saying that it is live. Within here as well, you can also go to party settings, and within there you can adjust your microphone level, adjust your audio mix, so whether you want more game volume or whether you want more chat party volume. That is personal preference to what you can hear. And then you can prioritize the party chat rather than an in-game chat. GT doesn't have in-game chat anyway. You can also choose whether to have your voice allowed to be shared here or not, and also your share play quality, if you want to play with that. Okay, the other way you can access a chat party is, if I do it from here again, if you press and hold your options button, if I do that right, sorry, no, not the options button, press and hold the XMB button, it brings up the short menu, the quick menu, and on here you can go to your sound and devices if you wish, where you can select some of the settings, so you can adjust your microphone level in there, but you can also scroll down to where it says party, and if you've been invited to any, it will give you a notification in there, or you can join a party that you've previously been invited to. So yeah, 2 ways that you can join a chat party, and there you go. Right, I'm now going to change to recording directly on the PlayStation. Okay, so now we're on the PlayStation, and one of the things that I want to do is explain to people how they can get or explain to people how to get your car set up for racing. And the first part of this is to make sure that you've got the assists on that you want, or at least have turned off all of the ones that you do not want. So what I'm going to recommend people do is, actually I'm just going to go to the track here just to show the screen. Oh, excuse me. I'll just pick a random car and go to the track, just because I want to be able to show you the screen. Okay, now I'm going to go to this view because the person that I'm mainly doing this video for, this is the view that they are using. I would say though, this is not the view that I would ever really use, although yes, you can see lots. The way the car moves about is going to be very, very odd, and also it's very difficult to really judge what is happening just in front of your car. I'd also like to mention as well that for anyone that is new to GT, if you are reacting to other people's brake lights coming on, unfortunately there is a delay between when someone presses the brakes and their lights coming on. So if you're reacting to people's brakes, it's too late. So if you see people and you're thinking, how are they braking that late and slowing down? I can't do it. Well, it's because they're actually braking a bit earlier than what it looks like. That's how they're able to slow down. Okay, I want to go through some of the information that's on the screen. Obviously, some of it is very self-explanatory. Starting from the bottom left, we've got a clock timer that's keep going through a practice session or even a race session or qualifying session. We've then got the 4 tyre symbols with the RH to tell us that we're on racing hards, and the diagram of the car is your damage meter. In DGT we don't use damage though, so you don't need to worry about that. And around the tyre symbols, where you've got the white bits of the tyres, that is the wear level, and when they wear down a bit it will start showing as red, and the boxes, squares around the white areas, they will change colours. They'll go blue if your tyres are really cold, and they'll go red if you're overheating your tyres. Next to that is the fuel gauge, E to F, that's your fuel. Obviously that will decrease depending on what the settings are on. The green bar in between them is actually the hybrid system in this particular car, and in this particular car it's activated automatically. Okay, next to that we've got the ABS symbol. I personally do use ABS because I don't like the no ABS system on this game, so it is better with ABS on. Next to that is the handbrake symbol, and if you don't have a handbrake, I would recommend assigning that to one of your buttons that is easily accessible on your wheel. I've got it right next to my right thumb, so I can tap my handbrake on and off, and I use that mainly for drifting or rallying. Below that is a steering symbol, which is to show if you've got steering assistance on, and next to that is another symbol which is braking assistance, and you do not want either of those two on. You'll know if they're on because they'll light up as you're driving. Okay, next to that then we've got a left indicator we're not using, we've got the speedo, rev gauge, and what speed we're actually travelling at, and the letter MT. Now above that MT, as we're driving along, a red square will appear with numbers in it. That red square is basically telling you, it's a little bit of a guide. If you've changed nothing to the car, that's the gear you're going to want to take the corner in. But if you've got better tyres on, it changes things a little bit. But the important thing is that that little red box will start flashing when you should be on the brakes. Okay, so that's a handy way of knowing you can jump in any car, any tyre, and when that starts flashing, on the brakes. That way you can make sure you don't brake too late at every corner, even if you don't know where you're going. Okay, next to the rev gauge and the manual gears is the right indicator, and then there's the throttle. I should mention as well, there is the brake measurement on the left hand side. You see the red bit is the ABS kicking in, and on the right hand side is the throttle. Right, next to the throttle gauge are 4 symbols, 3 of which are very, very important, and you don't really want any of them to be lighting up, apart from one. The headlights, that's self-explanatory, that's headlights. They're not flashing while I'm in the pits, but yeah, that's the top left one. Top right is a steering wheel with 4 dashers. That's counter steering assistance, and you don't want that on, because really what that means is as you're turning into a corner, if you start getting the rear end sliding out a little bit, you are going to want to apply a little bit of opposite lock. But if you've got the counter steer setting on, then that is going to do that little bit of turning for you. But if you don't know that, or you don't want it to, when you apply your opposite lock, you've now got double the amount, and you don't want that. So it is highly recommended to turn off counter steering assistance, and I'll show you how to do that in a moment. The icon below that, the triangle with the line, that is the anti-spin mechanism. Basically that means if you're going to start spinning out, that's going to try and stabilise the car and keep it straight for you. Again, you could keep that one on, but really if you think you're a driver of a fairly decent ability, then it's not something you want on, because it's going to do things to the car that you're not expecting, and you'll feel like you're not actually in control. And it's same with traction control. Personally, I don't run traction control on any car, because when I press the throttle, I want it to press the fucking throttle. If it spins the wheels or it makes me slide, then I know I need to adjust or react to that. But if the traction control is kicking in, then I'm pressing the throttle, the car's not going, and it always feels like it's being restricted, and I don't like that. I would always recommend turning off traction control. Now the trick is, how do we turn off all this shit? Okay, well again there's 2 ways. You can do it on track by pressing the pause button or the options button, and you can go to options and change it there. But that's more than likely only going to do it for the one car. Okay, when it comes to traction control, right, that setting I know is definitely one car specific. So for example, this car, I don't know if I've driven this car before, but if I go into the car settings and I go down, right, traction control is on 0. Now every new car you get, or every car you haven't driven, the traction control as standard is on 3. Okay, so it'd be on 3. So when you pick a car, you can go into the car settings, even if tuning is not allowed. You can go into the car settings, go to traction control, turn it off. Now you have to do that for every car. But if you do that while your car is in the pits, you're actually in the lobby screen, right? So if you do that in this screen here, then that will save that setting, that traction control setting. It will always be on 0. If you change it while you're actually on the track, which you can, then it will only stay at that setting while you are on that track in that session. If you return to the pits and actually come back to the lobby screen, this screen, it will deactivate the change that you've made. Okay, for all of the more detailed settings, go to driving options, and you can do this in a lobby. It's the easiest place to do it. So we click on driving options, and this is where we get to choose which gear ratio, which gearing we want to use, whether we want to use manual transmission or automatic. So we can click on that and we can choose manual or auto, and that will change it for every single car. Okay. Personally, I'm always on a manual gearbox, that's what I prefer. However, you have to remember that if you happen to drive an electric car which does not have a manual gearbox, it will automatically change this setting. So when you go to then a car you would drive with a manual gearbox, you will have to reset this, but it will do it for every single car. Okay. You can change the traction control here as well, but it won't do it for every single car, unfortunately. Okay, right. Okay, so as we scroll down here, mine's on custom. I don't know what your setting will be on, but personally, if you go on to custom, and just make sure that basically everything here is turned off. If you want a driving line assistance, that's up to you. Bear in mind though, if you have cones on the track, if you hit them, they can send you airborne. Okay, so you can turn all of these off. That's what I would recommend. The braking indicator, again, I've got that as off, but I think that's because it's for the cones. That's not the square. Okay. Active Stability Management, ASM, which is the symbol with the triangle and the line. If you've got that on, turn that off. And then again, counter steering assistance, click on that and turn that off. With the ABS, it's tempting to set that to weak, but actually leave it on default. And then it's the default traction control, ABS setting for the car. It's better than having it on weak, because if you're in a really powerful car that may need a little more ABS ability, you're not going to get it. So you can leave ABS on there. So that is how you basically turn off your counter steering, your active stability, and all of these settings that you do not want on your car. Okay, but what I will do is I am going to turn these on, so that you can sorry, not that one. You can see which that one. That one's on. Yeah, so you can see what happens when they are on. Okay, if you click on detailed settings, you can also change the information that you can see while you're driving. I mean, this is not necessarily that important. However, yeah, it's handy to know. And if you do time trials or stuff like that and you get pissed off with your ghost, it is within here that you can turn the ghost off. You can also, it shows you here that you can adjust your cockpit setting, but you can only do that when you're actually on the track. You can do it in the pits or while you're actually on the circuit, and I'll show you that in a moment. Force feedback, this is to do with your steering wheel. It doesn't matter what steering wheel you got, you don't really want to go above 5.5 or 5.6. If you're on a G29, you're probably going to want to run 3.4 or 4.5. Anything higher than that, you're just wasting it really. And the video settings you don't really need to play with. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go to the track to show, hopefully, that although the symbols are not flashing on the screen at the moment, once I come out of the pits, now they've started coming on the right hand side. So I've still got traction control on. Now you can change your radar screen or your screen in the bottom right corner here, and it is different on different views, so it moves in the middle of the dials, or the view I use, it's in the right hand corner. On the body view, it's the right hand corner, or trail cam, it's the right corner. So you can assign your MFD buttons to scroll through this, and there is a traction control one here, TCS, so I can turn this up or down. But like I say, if I jump back to the pits, it'll take away that setting. But I'm going to put it on for a moment. Okay, so now we can see that those things are highlighted in white, and when it's flashing in red is when they're actually working. So you can see how much they're doing all of the time. what it basically means is that if you're a fairly experienced driver, but you might be new to GT Sport, it might be that you expect the car to handle a certain way, like when you throw it into a corner, but it's not doing what you'd expect it to do, and it's because of those settings in that bottom right, next to the rev gauge. Okay, so if we exit back to the lobby screen now, and then go back to track, I just want to show that the traction control is back at 0. So because it's changed in the pits, then that's what the basic setting is, okay? Now, like I said, you can also change many of the options while you're on track, but you can't change the gearbox or the tyres while you're on track, okay? Now you can change these settings, however, there is a chance that it may only do it for the one car, so I wouldn't change them in here. I would actually go to press the red X so that you're actually fully in the pits, and then change them on the main menu in here and turn them off. You'll notice a big difference if you've been using them, but I would say leave ABS on. Okay, right, something else I want to show now is, because something that we experience a lot is drivers having difficulty finding a car. Now you can maybe be able to see near the top of the screen it says Tomahawk. Now this lobby that I've set up for myself is basically, it's the Tomahawk Group 1 settings, but what I've done is I've actually reduced the brake horsepower allowed in the event settings, right? I've changed it to 548 brake horse, okay? Now we're running the Tomahawk at 595 brake horse. So if I go to try and choose my Tomahawk, hang on a minute, where is it? Oh fucking hell, I'm gonna have to go and buy one. No, I'm not. This is where we'd usually have to explain to Fluffy how to do shit, right? If you really want to know whether you have the car, then what you have to remember is that, especially in the DGT League, the lobby is set with a particular set of parameters, okay? So brake horsepower up to 548 or whatever it is. So any car in the Group 1 section that has got more power than that, or perhaps less weight, it's not going to show up on this list. So the question is, how do you find it? It's actually very simple. Right? If you go up to the top left corner here, select by regulation, well, that's not what we want. So we click on that and then go to all. And now this is going to show us all of our cars. Now I could just go, there you go, look, it's there. There's my Tomahawk. But what if it's much further down the list? Well, we're already on all. So if we now go over to the right where it says sort, and click on sort, and then go down to the category that it's in. So if it's a Group 1, you can go to category and look in Group 1s, Group 2s, Group 3s, Group 4s, and so on. Basically, it's going to sort all the cars into their categories, and we can find it like that. If you're not looking for a particular category, maybe it's a year, then you can choose it by that, or so on. But I'm going to go by category because it's Group 1, and now, instead of only having 9 Group 1 cars, we've got 6, 12, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 Group 1 cars are now on the list. So this is how we then open up and find out the car that we're looking for. So we can now scroll through, find our Tomahawk. I can't fucking see it. There it is. So we find the car that we want and we click on it. But it's not going to allow us to go to the track because we're in violation of the brake horsepower. That then brings us to, okay, well, how do I change the brake horsepower and stuff like that? Well, quite simply, I'm going to pick another car to show this because otherwise, I've tuned all them. I want to show properly how we'll do it. So let's see if we can find a Group 1 that I perhaps haven't played about with. Let's see, perhaps that one, maybe. Right.
Okay, yeah, so how do we then get the horsepower to the right setting or the weight to the right setting? Well, the mileage points that we earn in Gran Turismo are the things that allow us to tune up a car or level up a car to then be able to adjust its power and its weight. So even if you want to reduce power or reduce weight or even add weight, sometimes you will have to tune the car up to then tune the car down. So for example, if we go over to here where the big number 1 is, we can click on that and we can actually spend some of our mileage points to tune up the vehicle. Now you could just adjust the power ratio slider bar and see if you can get it into the power that you're wanting. In this case we can, but if we're wanting a lot more power or a lot less power, then you click on the 1, you spend the mileage points, spend them all, why not? And then your power ratio range becomes much greater. So we can detune it to 493, or we can maximum tune it to 941 brake horse. Now you can't get to 941 brake horse if you don't do a maximum tune on it. Okay, now we can do exactly the same with the weight. I mean, if we want to put minimum weight on it, okay, we're at 855 kilos. But if we level the car up, we can take more weight off it. Okay, now there are some cars like the Formula One car where if you level it up, you may not be able to add power or take off weight. You may only be able to reduce power or add weight, but that's entirely up to the specific car. Okay, I think I've just about explained everything that I needed to explain there. Yeah, I think I have. Okay, if I have missed anything, or anybody else would like to suggest any how-to videos for GT Sport, feel free to let me know. Right, have a good. See you in a bit.